Hello and welcome to another edition of PaynePoints of Interest, where we talk about and answer questions relating to all things in small business. So grab your coffee, sit back, and join us as we start the discussion. All right, so I planned for these podcasts a week in advance, and the question I picked got deleted by the user. But I still think it's an interesting question, the general question anyway, of how do you split ownership of a business? What do you think on that, Ray? Because I know you guys have kind of done that before.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure if we've ever done this the correct way. What we normally do is set up a LLC, which locally is done differently. It depends on where you are, but we would just set up, pick company names up, LLC, and then just split it evenly between all the partners to start out with. And then as we work the company, we start to adjust the shares based on the workload, because it's normally just us, that we are the company entity. I really don't think that's probably the right way to do it, but
I mean, I've heard of people doing partnerships where they split the shares based on who and how much money was initially invested. So if you have a partner number one who invested 50% of the capital, right, and then you have partner two who did 25, and then you have partner three who did 25, then that's how the shares would be split up initially.
Yeah, I think that's like the Godfather method,
Right, right. Now, I don't know if that's even legit how you do a business partnership. I would think that's
it's as good as any.
Close as you can get it. I know when
it's logical.
I started a wedding photography business with two people, and we all initially contributed the same amount of capital to get the business started, because with any business you do have to have something to start the business, buy business cards and get a website going and all the little tiny detail things that cost money and time. So we all initially put in the same amount of money to invest and get going and start advertising, and then as the years passed and one of the partners became pregnant and she didn't want to do it anymore, she wanted to take time off to be with her baby, which is completely understandable. We kind of bought her out, and then the remaining partner, he wanted to go off and do his own thing. They were going to move, and so, and then I bought him out. So then I was the sole owner at that point.
I would say probably the correct thing to do is to establish what it is that you want to do, for starters. Get your partners together, and then go and get an experienced attorney to draw this thing up for you.
Yeah.
Like, all of you sit down with, everybody have the same guy. All you guys just sit down, have a roundtable discussion with the attorney to determine what it is that you want out of this company.
Yeah.
What should be in the partnership. And then have him draw up the paperwork.
Right.
And put it together the way it needs to be from his experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
someone who's done this a few times.
That's the proper way to do it.
I think that's the proper way to do it. It's the thing that we never really did. Also, in establishing those legal parameters, make sure that you all agree on who is going to handle the reporting of the company. So, in other words, one of you or designate someone else, maybe hire a CPA to handle those quarterly meetings, those reports, how the taxes are reported, and so on and so forth. So that you're not having that discussion, in the moment.
Yeah.
Instead, you've already planned out everything, and everyone already knows how it's going to go.
Yeah, and that's a necessity in any business. You have to have somebody doing that, whether it's a person in your partnership or you hire an outside entity to take care of those things for you.
Yeah, I just think it's best to
hire a professional.
Well, it's best to hire a professional, and it's best to do that at the beginning.
Yes. From the get-go.
Just from the start, all the partners agree on how this thing is going to go. Because, the thing that brings up trouble is when one person changes the plan. and doesn't tell everyone else, or two people change the plan and doesn't tell everyone else. You sort of have to do what you say. If it's a contract, so if you got your name on it, then everyone knows what the deal is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the people responding to the initial question that got deleted, his name is Carnage08, and it says, look into the slicing pie method on Google or YouTube. The author, which is, let me look that up real quick, Mike Moyer, he shares an hour-long video that breaks down this concept, and it says it's not, this person's not advocating the methodology, but it might help them with their question. So I looked up slicing the pie method. That looks like you can look up his book on Audible. He's got some stuff on YouTube.
Okay.
So if you have a question about that specifically, it would be interesting to go and look at what this methodology is. There's a
Say his name again.
Mike Moyer.
Mike Moyer. Okay.
Okay, I found an article that says there's pros and cons. Let's see here. Pros brings up objectivity to the discussion, which, we've kind of already talked about. You need to have a plan and know who's what. The dynamic nature, the equity that's not locked in necessarily in day one, which is what you talked about, where, as you work, you kind of determine who's doing more of the work and investing more of their time. It addresses co-founder departures, like resigning or firing. So that's always interesting, because when somebody wants to leave, how do you deal with that?
That's never a fun thing. But if you have a method set up from the beginning, it's like, guys,
of how you deal with that,
want to get, or if somebody gets hurt, or like that was the first thing that came to my mind was like, what if one of us gets killed?
Yeah,
I always assume that one's going to get killed. So what if one of us get killed? Who takes over that portion share of the company? And so we put that down in writing how that goes, and make sure that, again, that's the reason why I would say the lawyer. And
obviously, as time goes by and you realize, okay, we need to adjust this, living out this reality, things are a little different. You go back, you draw up new paperwork, you sign it, it's not like you're locked into whatever you decide on day one, unless you want to be, I feel like sometimes businesses are more fluid than we give them credit for, and the people involved, things are changing all the time. So, this methodology has some cons listed in this article on Quora. And you can Google them and look them up yourself. I feel like, with any kind of ways you split a business, kind of has to be, well, you need to know what kind of maybe the rules and laws are for your state and region, how that's going to affect you tax-wise, your personal income, that kind of thing. But sitting down with the people you're going to have a partnership with and just deciding ahead of time. Seems to me that's the most common sense way to handle any of these problems, is just sit down with the people. And
it's really a people problem, right?
Right.
How you split your business is really going to be based on who your partners are.
Right.
As people.
And everything else is secondary to that, I feel like. And now maybe I'm short-sighted, and I have to say I don't have a tremendous amount of experience, only having really done it one time. So I'm very limited. And so it'd be interesting to see and hear from other people who have had more experience creating businesses with others, and how they split that up and how you work on that. And maybe we should have a guest or two on the podcast in the future who have been in partnerships to really kind of, because I know a lot of people don't want to take on the entire burden of starting a business by themselves, and partnerships are almost required.
I've come across a lot of people who are very wary of getting partners.
Yeah.
They're like,
careful.
I say, hey, if you want to start this thing, how about you just go ahead and talk to this guy? But I was interested is that I don't want to do partners. I don't have partners, And I'm like, well, it'll make it easy to say, but I don't trust people. They flake out. They this, that. Some of us have been burned on partners before.
Yeah.
And so once bitten, twice shy. I think that some of that can be mitigated by having a solid contract at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. I was never a big fan of the group projects in high school or grade school, and I always like to do it all on my own. But here's the thing: when you are running a business and this is your livelihood and money's involved and what have you, doing it all by yourself, unless you just have a really small, very confined and contained kind of business model, you need helpers, I just don't understand how you run a business in today's age without having a few people that you've hired to help you do something. Even if they're not your partners, they work with you.
Well, me personally, I prefer partners to employees.
Yeah?
Why
is that?
Because if you have ownership of the business, then you're going to put more of yourself into it.
That's
if you're
true.
working for me, it's
You don't care.
yeah, it's well, it's not that you don't care, but
You don't have as much invested.
in the beginning, particularly, a business requires more than is normal.
Yes.
So you're going to have to get there 2 hours ahead of time, and you have to leave, 5 hours after close.
Right.
If I'm paying somebody to do that, A, it's difficult to meet that price per hour if I'm asking them to work 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And B, they're not going to want to do it just for whatever I can pay them.
Right.
But if I say, look, this is something that you're doing for yourself, then you tend to get a better response. And it makes more sense to me logically. And
you're more motivated because you have a personal interest in seeing it succeed.
And if I start a business and you start the business and you're my first person that works for me, I couldn't do the business without you because you're here at the foundation. So it makes sense to you to have some sort of ownership in it.
Yeah.
To me.
I can see both sides of it, and I understand why people are so wary or what have you about bringing on partnerships because of all the things you mentioned before. But I think you have to really, from the get-go, like you said, establish a clear foundation for everybody. And I think you're going to have more success when you work as a team than just as a solo person, but that's just me personally. I think that's going to wrap us up today. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything you want to add to today's topic, or you would like to be a guest speaker, you can find us on our website at PaynePoints.com, Facebook and LinkedIn at PaynePoints, Instagram at Payne.points, and Twitter at PointsPayne. You can now call or text us at 855-PAYNEPT, or that's 855-729-6378. We want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We hope everybody has a great day, and now let's get to work.
Bye, guys.